Good morning and welcome to the Aaron Brusos podcast. Today I'm out on a huge wall in a beautiful part of the world called Narooma, which is an indigenous word that basically translated means blue water. And I came here many years ago when I was about 22, and I got a cabin on a huge cliff. You can imagine the most rugged, beautiful landscape, huge cliff that has on one side a cemetery and on the other side a golf course, 9-hole golf course, and very big cliff falling down, and then down behind me the waterways are just all turquoise blue. And I first came here. It was my first I guess. It was a turning point. I'd been studying numerology with Mark Gruner, 4-5 years, and this was the first time that I sat down with people and did numerology readings right in front of them. Now that might seem insignificant to you, but that's when you study an ancient thing, and then to actually have the confidence to sit down one-on-one with someone, no reference books, nothing, and actually do a bit of a reading on them, their characteristics, positive, negative, cycles, the way they think, act, the way they'd likely react to things in certain situations, life lessons, challenges, natural skills, talents, abilities that were there in their energy and their numbers. It was quite daunting, and I came across my first amazing experience where the local speed dealer at the pub said his girlfriend wants one, do it there in front of him, and better not be bullshit, or I'll smash you. Now, I can look after myself, but even in that sort of situation in a new town and things, not knowing. And so in this town, I'll tell you what happened. I wrote about 10 pages, just freehand, just off thingo, and I gave it to her, and she started crying, and he was like, started getting really angry, and he's like, what's wrong? And she goes, oh no, he knows me better than I know myself. It's beautiful. And so from that moment on, he coined my name, my nickname, Numbers. And so back at that time, it was beautiful, actually. I used to walk around town and everyone would be like, hey, Numbers. From down the end of the street, if someone wanted, Numbers. And that was my nickname around Narooma. So I'm in Narooma, New South Wales, and I joined the local football club and started training pre-season for to play AFL, by the way, and the football here is pretty high quality as well. And it was I guess it was my first immersion into on a spiritual journey, but also into a spiritual community. It was my first foray into having synchronicities with other spiritual people. And I had no idea all these people were out there. And obviously, the spiritual journey has gone on another 29 years now, and this is the first time that I've been back. And it's funny how this year where I grew up in the Mornington Peninsula. I went back at the start of the year, where I had a farm with my grandfather. He passed away last year. I went back to Mildura earlier in the year as well. And now back here in Narooma after 29 years, and not a lot has changed. In fact, they are a beautiful little town. They don't have McDonald's. They don't have any of the giant fast food things, which in itself is quite unique, because as I was driving down, big towns, small towns, sub-cities, all sorts of places, just cruising down, stopping in each place, having something to eat, looking around. I was like, wow, every town is like a cookie cutter of the last, with a McDonald's, a Hungry Jack's, a KFC, a car dealership, this, all the national brands are littered everywhere. And to come to a place like this that is so far removed from that is what I would say is really good for a natural body and a natural... it's definitely a healing place. And so, where it all began, I've only just awoken here my first night. Yesterday I stayed in Wollongong, the night before in Ballina, done a bit of a trek across the country. I just thought I'd been writing this book. Just thought I'd sort of start heading south and get a little bit closer to some family, and also because I've got some up-and-coming appointments, and I was a 20-hour drive away from those appointments. Now I'm only a 7-hour away from those appointments, and it's a lot closer. So while I was going down, I was still checking in with the locals, finding out about the homelessness crisis that's right across the country. And, even yesterday I was in Ulladulla, it's a country town. They have a KFC and country town, and I had a good walk around, had coffee, and I was like, did a bit of shopping, and I went into a local second-hand store and started talking to them. There's a girl actually in the store that was living in her van, and the lady said, I'm at risk of it, but she helps volunteer at the soup kitchen and stuff, and I was like, so I stumbled in the right place, and she said, no, they're all down on the foreshore in the sand dunes. And I said, no, it's funny, I've been in really populated places, and they're in there as well. She goes, yeah, they come out in tents and all sorts of things down there, and these are places that are not like where I've been. I've been in the tropics where it's warm, you can just sleep out on the bloody sand, and it's beautiful all night. You know what I mean? It's also summer. But these people have a little bit more exposed to the elements at night times and stuff. It's not so tropical. So it presents, further challenges and stuff, but each place does have their different services, normally stemming from a community group like a church or some of, the well-known groups and local governments, even some local MPs are helping out, because it has got to an overwhelming point. And as I said, with what's in the book, I don't know the answer, I'm just highlighting it. and it's all doesn't make it easier that it's exacerbated by the cost of living, which is exorbitant across the developed world. It's not just here in Australia. And so we have a very complex problem, because for years we've had people going out in their vans with the van life movement, but even they are starting to retreat because they're getting mixed in with these homeless people, and the ones that we mainly see of the homeless people that don't really give a shit, have no shame, are drug dependent, alcohol dependent. And look, it's fair enough, I've struggled with addiction all my life, and if I had no will to live, then I wouldn't give a fuck either. I would grab whatever I can to escape that reality. So I'm not ever judgmental. I have been living on a beach with, a dozen of my closest friends were the ones that had these really, really bad addictions of, shooting up meth and whatever they can, really. So they were, all around me, and even just regular people that were all around me, and they go, oh, sorry, or, smoking cigarettes, or, oh, sorry, I'm on drugs or weed or whatever it is. And I said, look, guys, I'm not the judgmental one. I'm not here to judge. I don't care what you do around me, but I've got to a point in my life, for the first time ever, where I've been able to shed and work out how not to get all these addictions affect my life. So it's just my choice, you know what I mean? If I was in your situation, I'd be a better addict than you are. And that's the other thing, a lot of the people that are on the homelessness or out here on the streets, in cars and no cars, that are addicted to things, don't have the capacity, the mental capacity. They have mental health issues and psychosis and other things that have gone with being out here for so long. And as I've said in the book, you go through stages, and anger is one of them. Randomly, lashing out, running onto highways, going, oh, you can see me, and things, because these people think they're invisible. I mean, they're sitting there for 6 months, everyone's been walking past them like they're invisible. So the addiction part of it is the one you see the most. I engaged these people by cooking food. I was a bit of a beacon. I was in the same spot, breakfast, lunch and dinner, cooking food, and I'd make 3 meals. They knew they could come to me, and if there was no one around, I'd cook my meals, and I'd go for a walk that way and get rid of the 2 meals that I had, and they were always used. I was able to inspire others to do some cooking and eat healthier themselves through that process, which is not why I was doing it at all, which was a bit of a bonus, I guess. And so it's I understand that everyone's on their journey, and I'm not here to judge them at all. I've got here, there's quite a few articles in the local Narooma News about homelessness, young people living in tents, the cost of living, driving everything up here as well. And this is a big class as a regional or beautiful place. And you wouldn't think that it would impact here so heavily, but it impacts every place in Australia. Inland, coastal, big cities and small places. And, I've documented quite a bit of what has caused the, lots of causes the cost of living crisis. And, in the past, with my healing background, my numerology background, physics, quantum physics, I've found a lot of broken systems. And I've also been able to slice through things that are, just not true. A lot of everything that you see online is not true. It's not like, and also we're talking about both sides as well. Conspiracy theorists have got it so wrong in a lot of ways, but even just the fact that that many things that you've thought were something, that's not true also. So propaganda's been used since, the war to confuse people so they don't know which side, or to choose the wrong side unwillingly and all the rest of it. And now with online, like we used to get, I guess this is the big kicker here, we used to get our news from 3 major television stations here in Australia. Now there's hundreds, and online and YouTube and social media and all the rest of it. Now, back in the day, those 3 newsrooms, a couple of major, there was always one major newspaper in each town, and you had to be an accredited journalist to write for these newspapers. Now it seems anybody and everybody is out there. If there's money associated with it, which is 99% of everything, then you can be guaranteed you are not getting the full truth. This has been throughout history. If we had the time and we weren't so distracted to go and have a look for this, you would see that throughout history we have always been able to be, our biology is able to be hacked and through marketing, and we can even huge millions of us be tricked into doing things that are not good for us but make someone else a millionaire. We have an economic system which supports that. We have governments which can be manipulated with money. We have loopholes that, and I'm not going into specifics because I think so we haven't got it right. And a lot of the conspiracy theories that you think are out there are not conspiracy theories at all. It's just that's all we knew at that time. And so we're getting into a really confusing time, but it has to get wound up to be so confusing that we don't know what the fuck's going on, so that it snaps and we start going the other way. Are there filters that we can use to discern the truth? Yes. But you need to understand a little bit more about life and who we are and how our bodies work to be able to do that. And everything of those information you have got through your education system, which is very limited, which doesn't teach you to go out and be a world beater, a critical thinker. It basically gets you ready to be a compliant customer. There's a lot of repetition in the education program, and it's not about individuality at all. And so you find that, a lot of the stuff that's out there just isn't true. And I've said it many, many a time, nearly in every podcast, that it would be easier to fool you than to try and get you to believe the truth. Because once you get that information from a trusted news source, and that's you trust them, or look at family. Your family in lower consciousness don't understand something. Well, that's all they knew at the time. They pass it on to you. You think, well, they love me. And so you take things in. You take lots of things in through your senses unknowingly. Fear is one of them. And to be kept in a perpetual state of fear also keeps you going back for more news, for more things, and that's what everything is designed. So I guess, like, now knowing what I know and going online, wow, there's so much lies out there. It's so confusing. So I've actually turned it off. Got off social media and I've turned, just turned it all off. And my head is a lot clearer. I have a great understanding. It's quite confusing to just be exposed to all of that shit. And every now and then I just check back in, and within half an hour, I'm feeling sick. Not because it's confusing the shit out of me anymore. I've got filters and I understand and I know and I can work this out. I think I feel sick because I have one foot in the truth and one foot in the lies, and I have to live in this world. And it takes a huge amount of courage to do that. You know, to know the truth, to stand up. Most people throughout history have been completely ridiculed and thought crazy until it's proven right. The Black Death of childbirth was, you know, a guy saying, "Hey, I think we're the problem," to a point where he went crazy. They locked him up. 10 years later, it was proven that he was right. And there's lots of these cases in history where that has been the case. And I guess now we're looking at growing up as far as humanity's concerned. But there's a lot of things that are still keeping us limited mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. You know, the consensus on Earth is that 85% plus believe that we have a soul, that there is a greater power. They just don't know or understand what it is. And that in itself is quite an interesting thing, because it's like at the moment across the world, you know, and I've said this many times as well, there's like this new age movement, you know, people are starting to want more, want better, look after themselves, you know, yoga and all these things are becoming bigger and bigger. But even just this new age movement, it's there's no doctrine, there's no book, there's no leader, there's no church, there's no... So where's it coming from? It's coming from within. And while we don't understand, well, you guys don't understand the other parts of the human being that make us up, because you've been conditioned not to, you've been brainwashed not to go looking for your divinity. That belief that there is a soul, that there is something bigger, comes from within. Because things happen, right? We know there's something going on. We can feel it. We have an emotional guidance system. If it feels good, do it. If it doesn't, don't do it. There's lots of things within our energy system that give us and point us in the right direction. There's lots of help, support, protection and guidance available to us if you understand what we're talking about. But it's a little bit woo-woo for a lot of people in low consciousness, and I'm not talking about intelligence. You can be extremely intelligent and still not have awareness of who you are. And so it's a little bit woo-woo. So therefore, you will mock, ridicule the people that actually have the truth, that can actually save your life. On an energetic system that we have, that soul part, basically when we're born, everyone is on a spiritual journey, but we've switched it off. So we're on that spiritual journey. We've switched it off. Everything that happens to us humanly conditioning-wise is another thing that takes us further away from understanding who we are. And so what the spiritual side of us does with physics and quantum physics, and even if you don't understand it, just bear with me for a sec. What happens is you get awakenings. And so you've all heard the term awakening, right? What do we need to awaken to? We need to awaken to our own divinity and our own magnificence and what's available. So through the process of this awakening, the further away you get, the louder the awakenings come. The loudest, I guess, most impactful awakening that any human being can experience here on Earth would be the what you call a near-death experience. So you think the bad stuff is just bad and it's crippling and it hurts and all the rest of it. But you need to understand from a spiritual sense, if you didn't have that awakening, you wouldn't have that awareness, you wouldn't go looking for things. It's like my awakening was around healing. I had a 20-year health condition that, I couldn't get my driver's license until, 10 years after everyone else, because I had a health condition that used to make me pass out, and it was no doctor, no money or specialist, whatever around the world could fix it. And what it was a trauma, deep-seated trauma. So a kinesiologist, a chance meeting with a kinesiologist, cleared it in about 15 minutes. So I'd had this condition for 20 years. So that should have made me go looking for something bigger, but it didn't. I had to have another chronic illness as well, incurable. So, these both and three have all been incurable. And I've, through my connection with my spirituality, been giving a practical, physical way to heal it here on Earth. So that was my form of awakening. There are many, and look, this is, once again, you don't understand or you don't know what you don't know, right? When we lose a loved one or a child, young, or even a baby, the amount of love that creates would never have been experienced or felt on Earth if that baby hadn't died. So if you're talking about a spiritual side, the expression, the whole, someone created this Earth, this universe, the universes, the whole lot, and whatever it is, right? Whatever you believe in, but the bias, the thing at the top of everything, is love, and there's different levels, and unconditional love is probably the highest expression possible. So if the bias for everything here is love, and we are getting further and further away from that, then our awakening is going to be to bring us back to that. So rather than have awakenings, challenges, karma is something that puts challenges and speed humps and things and challenges in front of you to make you become aware of your own divinity, your own power, your own thing. So if you're not working on that, or if you're not doing that on a continual basis, what you're going to find is that the physics of it is going to do it for you. And it's really hard to explain, but I've been on this one all my life. So I've been testing, and when I'm talking to you about stuff, I've already tried and tested everything. Spiritually, mentally, physically, biohacked myself. I try everything before, you know what I mean? I'm not giving you opinions on things. I'm not giving you my opinion. I'm not giving you what I think. I'm not giving you what I've even heard or seen from anyone else. Practical applications of things that work, and total transparency and openness with how it all works. That's what I'm giving you. Now, there's not one place on earth that gives you that. And that's why it can be seen as very, very foreign, very, very scary, very, very woo-woo, and it's different. So the way people learn is being conditioned through, like you go to school, right? You go to school to learn how to learn. You go to a doctor all your life, your parents, your grandparents, and the way that they have been learnt to, or what to do when they're unwell, you've been doing that for years, 100 years. And I guess, what if we didn't get that right? Or what if now, with higher awareness, or higher even intelligence, we've cycled to something that has a better option? What if? And so what if, I'll give you an example. I killed myself of chronic anxiety, a 14-day protocol that naturally aligns the body into a different state. That state is called homeostasis. If you go to any doctor in the world and say, if my body is in a state of homeostasis, can I get sick? And they'll say, no, it's impossible. So what I'm saying is, if you, if I say to you, all right, for 14 days you need to force feed yourself this special diet that's naturally aligning, detox all the causes or main causes, this, that, the other, and you can heal an incurable disease. If you're used to going to the doctor, getting someone else to tell you what's wrong with you, getting someone else to give you a pill to clamp down on symptoms until they pass, and then you return back to normal. Well, I'm giving an option that returns you back to a better state and cures incurable. So it's not something that you're used to seeing. It's not something that you're used to, I guess, it's not the way you heal. So we're very conditioned, and we're susceptible to addiction. And that addiction goes right down to food, comfort, If the world, is quite a crazy rat race, and you have to, if you have to personally, it's very hard to, how would I say it? It's very hard to survive when all you're surviving, the cost of living now is at all-time heights. But even back then, you were on the rat race. You were distracted, fear of missing out, keeping up with the Joneses, all the rest of it. Once you get into that, you start a family, you have all of these responsibilities. It's very hard to move. So you find you oscillate to your little part of comfort in that chaos. And it's very hard to get off. So you're not going to be looking for your divinity. You're going to be in survival mode. There's thrive or survive. And so everything is designed to keep us in survival mode. And so we don't go looking for this stuff. And then there's a couple of trailblazers who, through having an awakening, having these spiritual experiences, they do break away. But the juggernaut, the machine, the system, or whatever you want to call it, that keeps most of the world running, is all based on the economic system. And that system does not want you to break free from it, because it wants you to be dependent on it. And look, this is no conspiracy or anything at all, but I'll give you an example. Maybe I think it was kinesiology, all right? So 26 years ago, I saw a kinesiologist who was able to clear a trauma that was inside of me that I'd had for 20 years. Now, just yesterday, I was in a small town. I was going to I was talking to someone just that I'd met off the street, and I explained to them about that situation. What they had no idea that a kinesiologist existed. Now, that was 25 years ago, cleared a trauma in me that I had for 20 years. This should have been the most profound, eye-opening, amazing thing. But because you're all conditioned in that system, that's relying on the economic system, that everyone wants a piece of you, this is not widely known. Now, kinesiologists are all over Australia, all over the world. It's very, it's an energy system. It's a field, right? You're innate. Doctors know about it. They can see what it does, but they have no idea how it works. But they let it go on, and they have no intention or no, no curiosity. If that was me, and I was a doctor and I saw some workings of that innate, then I would definitely have some curiosity to go and go, what the fuck? How does this all work? But no, nothing. So that in itself tells you that our development here on Earth is very slow and very uncomfortable. Slow, uncomfortable change. In fact, that is disgusting, because a lot of people could have benefited from, like millions, hundreds of millions, billion people could have benefited from that information alone. So that means that we haven't got a true system that gets the best possible outcomes for human beings to thrive, survive, to live, to heal. Discoveries that make life easier. We have discoveries that make money. We have people that like to control large amounts of money. We don't have humanitarians. Even the greatest humanitarian organizations on earth have no inkling to do what's best for humanity. They're like sub-branches that are just band-aids. There is no... they know that if they go up against this huge juggernaut of a system, that there's no point. You'll be bashing your head against a wall, right? They don't have the courage, they don't have the power, and they don't have knowledge, courage. What else would you need to have? And probably two of the greatest things that you could have to get that information. And so it takes a person like me, comes around every couple of thousand years, to have the courage to forget about that system, about that life, and go searching for the truth, to get the knowledge of exactly who we are, what system we're part of, how everything works, and have the courage to go, no, fuck that. Fuck is all. Yeah, it might be 7.5 years on this journey of courage. No one has ever done what I have done for humanity. And you don't even know it because you're totally conditioned. You'll actually ridicule me. You'll actually make fun of me. It's all designed that way. That's why I don't smack yous all in the face. You know what I mean? Adam and Eve were vegans, right? They used to live to 900 years old. After the flood of Noah, at about 2300 BC, the allowance of eating meat, the average was about 170 years old. Because the meat industry makes money and drives sales and gets more and more and more and more each year, and all the misinformation that's been conditioned to you around it, if I tell you that I'm a vegan, you will make fun of me. The most healthiest cell regenerative diet that gives you longevity longer than any other diet on earth, that's scientifically proven, that lots of people know, but you make fun of me. You make fun of that. You make fun of vegans. So what sort of a world are we living in if you're making fun and not knowing why you're making fun of the one thing that we're all looking for? Every single person on earth is looking for answers and things that these little secrets have, and you ridicule it. Surely that can't be the way moving forward for humans. Now, that's just one example. But if you look at anything that we generally ridicule in other people, you'll find that there could be a hidden secret in that. So the next time you go to ridicule someone, maybe go, stop. Why am I ridiculing someone for being healthy? Why am I ridiculing someone for not eating meat? Why am I ridiculing someone for being spiritual and being woo-woo? And you'll sort of have to sit in a bit of uncomfortableness, a bit of pain maybe, and but you'll eventually get the answer. And the answer is going to be around your inability to have that knowledge, I guess, that everyone else has got. So maybe that's just something we can all sort of look at over the next few years. So that's what I want to do, is just get on and tell you where we are as far as geographically, and where I am in my car, Abby. But have a beautiful day. But there's a few things to think about. I'm going to go and enjoy this beautiful day. Thank you for listening.